Welcome, everybody. This is the Agile Austin coaching meetup. We've been chatting for a little bit before this, but just so you know, you're in the right place. This is the Agile Austin coaching meetup. Let me tell you a little bit about us. Lonnie's not here tonight, but typically I'm co-hosting with Lonnie. I'm Sid Markle. What we are trying to do is bring together the Agile coaching community, have monthly conversations on topics that help us build our Agile coaching competencies. And we meet every first Monday right here via Zoom. And the thing that's different about us is we're trying to expand the boundaries of what you would typically see or typically hear about as an Agile coach. And we look for all kinds of different topics from clean language to graphic facilitation to mindfulness, and also as a platform for people who are new to speaking about Agile and Agile coaching. So that's who we are. And we're part of a larger community called Agile Austin. And we have a lot of different meetups in this portfolio of community, from Agile at Scale, the book club. There's a Scrum Master meetup. So for people who are specifically getting into Scrum and looking at those, there's a meetup for that. And then we have a monthly speaker series. So if you're interested in any of those, you can find them at meetup.com/AgileAustin. And the overall mission, again, it's similar to what we're trying to do with the coaching SIG, which is to connect people and really foster collaboration through education and through these conversations. And we do want to thank our sponsors because their sponsorship really helps us put on the kind of quality content that we are all enjoying and have access to different kinds of education opportunities. All right. So a couple of things that we have coming up. We have a lineup of speakers coming throughout the fall that are going to be fantastic. Next month, we have Brian Stallings, who's going to come talk about neurodiversity and conflict, especially in STEM fields. And that's going to be fantastic. In October, we have Dr. Francesca Ramoni and Chichi Effia. They're going to be talking about trust and transformation. And then in November, we're going to have Will come talk to us about leading with integrity, and especially integrity amidst complexity, which we are all living in every day. So if you're interested in any of those, we hope we see you. Tonight, though, I'm very excited to introduce our featured speaker. She is an expert in multiple coaching domains, or coactive coaching, ICF certified, to name just a few. She is a seasoned coach with more than a decade of experience with organizations including Roche, Texas A&M, IBM, Charles Schwab, and more. She co-hosts a monthly coaching circle where coaches get together from around the world to practice their coaching skills. And she may be familiar to many of you because she actually hosted this meetup for about 5 years. And if you know her, you know she is one of the most generous and insightful people you'll ever meet. So everyone, please welcome Erin Randall.
Wow. Thank you, Sid. Wow. I kind of want to blush. I need a moment to recover. I wasn't quite expecting all of that. But much of what Sid said is true. First and foremost, we do have those agile coaching circles, and we have those at different times around the world. So if you are an agile coach and you are looking to either practice your skills, looking to practice with someone else, or really just starting to get your feet wet, these are global circles. We have circles for Europe, Africa, both coasts of Australia, and the North America. Well, actually, we just call that one the Americas. But you are welcome at any and all of these coaching circles. They're free and virtual, and they're hosted by people who have multiple credentials as well, so can teach as well as offer feedback and the like. So you're welcome there too. I'll go ahead and start sharing my screen, and we'll go through kind of quickly through this first part, just because. There we go. All right. Agile coaching supervision, adding to the coach's toolbox. So tonight I'm going to be talking about supervision, and you might notice that we have a space between super and vision, and why is that there? And we're going to be looking at that here in just a little bit. So, but on that happy note, learning outcomes. What am I wanting for all of you here tonight? Well, then I need to move a few things around on my screen so I can see everything there. All right, so number one, learn what coaching supervision is, as well as its purpose. To understand how coaching supervision can help coaches, as well as leaders, as well as managers, as well as anyone to expand their own range and their capabilities. And we're also going to do a demonstration of coaching supervision. And so this is just to kind of tip everyone off that at the very end of tonight's session, I'm looking for about 5 people that are going to be willing to step into the middle. And we're going to demonstrate what a group coaching supervision session could look like. So if you're game, start thinking of a topic that you might want to bring forth there. All right. So here we go. All right, so my name is Erin Randall, and I do have a goal of hiking on every continent or riding horses on every continent, ideally with Patrick Stewart. For anyone who hasn't heard that joke, I do have a long and healthy love of Patrick Stewart himself. Sid gave you all of my initials. The one that isn't appearing on there just yet is that I just completed about 3 weeks ago a 10-month program for team coaching supervision. And this is really the first of its kind to start coming through, but that meant 10 months of doing this work, logging hours, practicing, having my own work assessed and evaluated and supervised. A lot of work, but I really think it's helping to add to the system of what I'm trying to build overall. We already talked about the Agile coaching circles, but if anyone is ever curious about where they can find me personally, that's over at Ad Meliora Coaching. And Ad Meliora, what does that mean? It's Latin, means better things or to better things. Okay. And I do love to help, whether it's people, teams, or organizations. I really want all of those things to be functioning as highest level possible. Okay. And I also like taking pictures in front of pigs. It's a weird family thing, so just go with it. Okay. Supervision, super what? When you think about the word supervision, what comes to mind? And this is a real question. I'm hoping to get feedback from any and all of you. What comes to mind when you think about supervision?
When it's done wrong, like you're being monitored or judged. When it's done right, you know that even if you're going to mess up, you're going to get feedback at the end, which means you're going to grow.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Kara. Anyone else have ideas on what supervision might be? Joe.
If I put it in the context of a certain superhero who can see through things, it's about seeing through the obvious, being observant of what's going on under the top layer.
Yeah. Any other viewpoints? And please note that right now, everyone, there is no wrong answer. There's no such thing.
We have a couple of answers in the chat as well. You've got, yeah.
Let me go get this.
Yep.
So when I think of supervision, I think of superiority. And therefore someone or something's superior to you, potentially.
And I think I'm seeing oversight and watching and observation in there too. Okay, so I'm going to bring this forward. Actually, I want to come forward even one more slide beyond that. So how we have traditionally used the word supervision with regards to coaching, if anyone has ever gone through for advanced credentialing or anything like that, you've been assigned a supervisor, someone to watch over, someone to assess, for someone to tell you where you've made the grade or where you have not. Okay. We're starting to use the words supervision a bit differently. And this is more in line what we're seeing with therapists and counselors, where it's a deeply reflective practice to take that internal. So I want you, for the purpose of this talk tonight, when you think about supervision, to let go of that judgment aspect of the work, of the oversight, of the assessment, or telling you what you did correctly or what you did incorrectly. For tonight, we're going to start talking about supervision as that deeply reflective practice, or as Joe pointing out, it's bringing that vision back inward, taking to ourselves what's underneath there, what's underneath those layers and the like. Okay. One of the things that I posted over on LinkedIn to begin talking about this work was a quote from James Clear, and he was talking about systems, and he said this: goals are for people who want to win once. Systems are for people who want to win repeatedly. All right. And as coaches, by bringing a practice such as reflective, this reflective practice or supervision in to how we work, this is part of us building systems that help us to do the things that we want to do better, where we want to improve, where we want to be more impactful, of greater value to the systems we serve. This is us building that system internally. All right. So what you're seeing here is what I affectionately call my Chaucer wheel. And Lakshmi and I actually, she helped me come up with, she's there and call it the craft of agile coaching. But I call it the Chaucer wheel, is just kind of my own internal joke because of the little man down in the right-hand corner. Geoffrey Chaucer was a medieval poet, and he wrote a poem called The Parliament of Owls. And in that poem, he wrote this: the life so short, the craft so long to learn. And like anyone, we spend a lot of time perfecting, advancing our own skills in these regards as agilists, as teachers, as mentors, as coaches, as people working with systems and the like. So that's why I call it my Chaucer wheel. But what you're seeing here in front of you is something that I've begun kicking around for about the past year now and the like. And it's still something that's undergoing a lot, but it's taken off of, its start came from 3 areas. Number one, the original X-wing diagram that Lisa Adkins and Michael Spade put together as part of the Agile Coaching Institute. And you can see that there in the wheel itself with the mentor, teacher, the Agile Lean practitioner, the coaching and the facilitation. All right. But you also see aspects of, this pulled from Bob Galen and the like, the Agile Coaching Growth Wheel, all right, where we took self-mastery in from the middle there. All right. But from there, we're also really drilling down into ethics, into integrity, into values, because we do want to have our own values as coaches, solid in those before we go forth. That self-management there, we want to be really strong in that. But I also pulled from Dandy people, all right? And you can see that they're at the top of the wheel, the expert, the advisor, the visionary. There are a lot of ongoing debates on, as coaches, do we ever want to stand in that outside role? And that's a bit of a holy war. But I will tell you that when I go and work with systems, there are times that I do stand in expert. There are times that I advise. There are times that I need to envision what a system could potentially be. But in all of these, I'm also becoming attuned to the system itself. So I really think of that fine tuning, that attunement there, where really that deep listening and paying attention to what's coming up. All right. But let's go back to the very middle of this wheel. And you see that self-mastery there, because as coaches, we want to be really solid with ourselves and how we show up in systems before we enter in. All right. And then you're going to notice that black ring around self-mastery with growth mindset, reflective practice, learning, and curiosity. Now, just to be clear, you do not need to only have curiosity when stepping into the mentoring wedge. I simply just cannot make this a dynamic wheel. So I need you to think of, you can be in curiosity and step into any of these wedges. Think of this as like a life ring around your self-mastery that's really helping to hold this together to help you support in that self-mastery and the like. But the reason I bring this particular ring here up is because this is where I'm placing that reflective practice, okay? That deep internal look, that's the part of the system that we are building, all right, for ourselves to show up how we need to, all right? We haven't seen reflective practice or supervision addressed anywhere else, but this is where I've chosen to put it, okay? Now, you see the rings or the different wedges that as coaches or practitioners or really just systems workers that we step into at any one time or another. All right. So think of the self-mastery and that black ring as being internal work. And then we start stepping outward. All right. And you can see around that gray ring, mentor coaching, cohorts, assessments, lived experience, feedback. Okay. These are all external practices that we do, or hopefully do, to really begin to improve our work, to consider how we're going out into that world and to continuing to improve and the like. Okay. So this is something, honestly, I'm more than happy, and I'll make these available to Sid that we can email them out after this session, all of the diagrams that I use here tonight. But this is one that in particular, I'm looking for feedback on, simply because it is new, and it is a little bit like entering into the holy wars, the crusades, once you start messing around with, the X-wing diagram or with the agile coaching growth wheel and the like. But if people have suggestions or feedback, I'm always welcome and open to hearing that. But there are questions now about what you see here. And I'll take a drink of water too. Anyone? Because if not, I'll go back a slide and we'll talk about. Yes. All right. So the difference between coaching and mentor coaching and coaching supervision. All right. Let's start down in that lower right-hand clover leaf. So coaching is that partnership between client and coach. It's that deep one-on-one work where the coach helps the client to maximize both their personal and professional potential. And I always laugh because I feel like this leaf here is brought to you by the letter P with all those P words in there and the like. All right. But coaching is that deep one-on-one work. Okay. Let's slide over to mentor coaching, which is over on the left. All right. This is where we might use the expertise and the experience of one coach to support another coach, or growing that individual's skills. And it might be in leadership and management around coaching competencies, right? To help that boat to rise, right? Coaching supervision. Okay, this is that continuing development of a coach and their work, right? That collaborative dialogue within a reflective space. And those are really important words there, that focuses on the coach's work, the issues that arise, and the practice of being a coach or a leader. Okay. How many of you either have a coach yourselves? Just raise your hand. Seeing a couple? Yeah. Awesome. All right. How often do you take your work into supervision? Or where do you talk about your work? Does anyone have an answer? Okay. This is what coaching supervision for. It's that continuing development space. All right. That reflective space. All right. Where you can, help to develop that work. Okay. It's not to tell you what to do or where you've done something correctly or incorrectly and the like. All right. It's to help you, give you that space to look in, to be able to step out. All right. I have noticed myself, once I began seeing a coaching supervisor, for lack of a better term, all right, the growth in my own work, the expansion of my own coaching practice, and how I stood in different situations and what I was able to deliver. I became a much better, more balanced coach once I began doing coaching supervision work. Okay. So are there any questions here about what the difference between these three is? And like I said, as your fun party gift, you're going to get about 3 or 4 diagrams here tonight too. So, okay. And Sid, if there's anything coming in over the chat, just kind of give me a shout out.
You got it.
Because I'm sorry.
You got it. I'm keeping an eye there.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm
Guess
going to
the
go.
only thing I'll ask is so I lead a team of Scrum Masters. And currently I had them do a self-assessment on the Agile Coaching Growth Wheel to kind of start to identify some areas of opportunity to help them grow to better serve, their teams and the PO and the organization. And I do really see that sitting in that like that mentor coaching role where like I'm like coach. I call them coaches even though they have the title Scrum Master because like, hey, you're coaching the team.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see this that about getting that specific thing. So I see some analogies to my current situation.
Good. And Michael Bell, I see that you've raised your hand.
Yeah, could you expand a little bit on that piece about it says obviously the coaching part in here, but it says a collaborative part as well, and just get an understanding of how much collaboration is going on in that space. Is it coaching in terms of the person doing the self-reflecting thing and you're taking them through the journey, or is it a collaborative piece as well in that? How do you see that?
So I think what you're asking about is the coaching supervision, correct?
Yes, exactly. Sorry.
Okay, that collaborative dialogue. All right. And by that, I mean, sometimes it's the person doing the supervising. All right. Providing that space, asking the questions that are going to cause that person to be able to collaborate either with themselves or with other people. And I'm hoping to demonstrate here tonight, we're going to be doing a demonstration of group coaching supervision. Okay. So it's that kind of that yes and aspect. All right. But I also think of that dialogue that any coach that brings their work to supervision, it's that almost internal collaboration. Okay. Where by being able to look at it from that deeply reflective space, they're finding different ways to be able to add on, to enrich, to make that work better. Did that answer your question, Michael?
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. Explain it.
Yeah. Okay. And Chadwick, I'm seeing a question from you too.
It took me a few minutes to kind of think about this and also asking, but I think my coach and I, the one I'm using right now, pretty much kind of do this every session. It takes probably about the last 5 or 10 minutes of the session, and it's like reflecting on what I did, and then the approach, and then I've had to answer some questions for him, mostly because he's pursuing some certifications and training. But it's like, like where did we start out, and like what did and didn't work, and so evaluating the effectiveness of the relationship. I think we do that pretty regularly. I'd say it more deeply sometimes than others, but every other session at least.
Yeah. And have you found it to be beneficial for you?
I have, because it's really, you probably know better than I do. It's like I'll show up. It's like, what do we need to work on? So I try and do it's helped me to express my needs, because like I originally was like, hey, I want you to tell me what I need to do to be better. So it's like I'm really having to bring that out, and it's really been mutually beneficial. So definitely helped me in expressing my needs and trying to focus.
Right. So coaching supervision is something that is becoming more recognized over along the ICF, International Coaching Federation guidelines and the like. So for those pursuing different certifications, either ACC or PCC or even the ACTC aspect, they're recognizing that supervision, you can account a certain number of hours towards those credentials and the like. Okay. And there was someone, when we were first talking about what coaching supervision is, the words assessment or oversight were coming up a lot. That's more around, that's what's called marker training. So if anyone is ever pursuing those credentials, the associate certified coach or the professional certified coach, like I'm partway through the PCC marker training so that I can help people see where their performance, for lack of a better term, is meeting certain markers that ICF wants to see in those. That is assessment. Okay, that's not supervision. All right, so we're going to be demonstrating supervision here tonight. Okay.
There's a question in the chat. Would you say, it's from Taz, would you say each particular clover has an arc? And do you think we'll see that arc during the demo, like a coaching arc?
Yes. All right. And any coaching or mentoring session or supervision session, it does have an arc. All right. Where you're, if you're going to be really clean about it, there's the alliance up front, asking using powerful questions to narrow down the topic, exploring the topic, and then coming through the other side. All right. Mentoring will have much that same. However, remember, only in mentoring would I, say, hey, in this particular situation, I've done something like this or like this or like this, but still leaving the person being coached or mentored at choice. right? Supervision, I will not be offering necessarily, what I have done in any situation, all right? But it's really offering Chadwick in this instance, that deeply reflective space where he or she or they can step in and consider their own work, right? I don't know about you all, but I have deeply appreciated in the past having some place to take forth some of what I'm encountering of what I see in systems, and not having someone tell me what I've done correctly or incorrectly, but letting me just kind of chew through what I'm seeing up there, and having that where someone can ask questions at good times, or ask questions in different ways to help me see what I might not have seen previously. So I think it was Joe who'd been talking about X-ray vision. You can see that aspect of it there in supervision. Okay. Are we good? Because I've got a couple more diagrams and then I'm going to demo this. All right. You've seen that one. Okay. So the functions of coaching supervision. Think about it as this over starting at the left: formative, normative, and restorative. Okay. So the formative aspect, this is really just around developing the person as a coach, and developing skills and effectiveness. All right. Analyzing client cases, really getting down in there and the like. Okay, coming up around there over into normative, right? The ethical aspect, because we want that coach as the professional, and developing ethical maturity. Okay. But coming around the top of this arc, coach as person, and really developing well-being around this. Okay. Because I don't know about you all, but there's, sometimes coaching, this is some big stuff. We're seeing, big things in systems, and how do we want to work with this effectively? So exploring and expressing sometimes distress or transference or parallel aspects, or what's coming up in those systems. All right. And sometimes we do need accountability or just a sounding board for different ideas. Okay. And I thought I had another diagram in there. Oh, see, that was the diagram that I was supposed to start with, but I went one too late. This is just a more simplified version of this. Okay. So if anyone is asked, what are we wanting to see in coaching supervision? Yes, we do want to see some formative, but we really want to be coming up more into normative, into restorative. Okay. That's where we want to see that work going there. All right. So I've thrown a lot of big diagrams in you and the like. Okay. And I'm curious, questions, what might be coming up? I'm also trying to read over in the chat, Charlotte. Reading through each section could be that you could work with someone different in each area. That is interesting, but I don't think we have enough time for all of that tonight, Charlotte. That's a much longer session than we have laid out here. Okay. Barbara, awesome. I'm going to share my screen one more time, because I'll bring, let's find my mouse. Were there any questions or additional feedback around the Chaucer wheel, or the craft of Agile coaching Lakshmi, which is the more proper name for it? Because this is, by the way, if you ever want to feel vulnerable, put something like this up on LinkedIn and let people go to town on it for a while. You'll wonder about your sanity and if you should have just done something else.
Yeah, I can imagine. Kara asked in the chat, do you find that companies are receptive to restorative coaching?
To be honest, Kara, I've never pitched it as such, specifically when I'm talking about coaching supervision or a circle and the like. That's one of the byproducts of it. Okay, so it's not ever something that I've talked about as being the main goal or the main purpose. Right? I will talk about that with people in supervision circles and the like there. Oh, because I had one person tell me, though, as an Agile coach, isn't it our job to carry this? I'm like, well, yes, it might be our job to carry aspects of this, but I would also hope for people to be able to carry it more lightly, to carry it in a way that we can move forward. It's kind of self-care in a different way. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Anyone else? And I'll pop up the chat over there because I got the ARC question. Okay. All right. So, I don't think I have anything else here that I was gonna. Let's do it. Okay. So I was hoping for some people that might have, number one, team coaching topics they would not mind bringing forward. All right. And Sid, is this the portion where we want to go ahead and shut down the recording?
Yeah,
Wait, Kara, I'm laughing about.
We're
your-
not going to record the coaching part of this. So we will pause the recording while we're doing the coaching that will protect, the circle. And then we'll start it back up when we're done coaching. So I'm going to go ahead and pause that now and we can get into it. I do want to thank the volunteers, the people who came forward to participate in the coaching session that Erin just took you all through. And it was a really interesting demonstration of the difference between, say, group coaching or team coaching, where you might be coaching on a topic about the team, to a coaching or to having a conversation that was reflective about what a coach is going through. And I think that was a really interesting demonstration, and I liked the group aspect of it as well. So thank you so much, Erin.
You're
So
welcome.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I just said you're welcome.
Oh. I do want to wrap up tonight because we are getting to the end of our time together. And so let me just close with, I hope you all can join us again in September. We're going to have Brian Stallings join us and talk about neurodiversity and conflict. And I think that should be a great session. And I want to thank you all for attending, because it's your participation and engagement in this community that really makes a difference. So I want to thank you all for coming tonight. And with that, I think we can close.